Hey Sainers, welcome back to the Saints Nation channel and welcome to the first episode of the Saints Nation podcast. I am your host, Will. This is the great man himself.
Yes, my name is Bem, and we also are joined by today a late addition to the podcast.
My name is Cooper. I've been a Saints fan my whole life and keen to talk biasly about them this whole podcast.
All right, I think the first thing we should go over is favourite Sainer of all time. Who's your favourite Saints player?
Well, for me, I was a very recent Saints fan. I actually only started really watching in like 2019. So for me, it's Dylan Robertson or Tim Membry.
Yeah.
And it can no longer be Tim Membry, so it's Dylan Robertson. Is it?
Tell you what, that's a good one.
Yeah.
That's new.
I loved watching him off halfback in like peak 2016, 17, whenever I'd watched. And, you know, the love's carried over ever since.
Yeah, well,
there you
I
go.
actually was a supporter back when we were actually good. So Lenny Hayes was always my favourite. My dad was always Rewalt, but I was always Lenny. Loved Lenny. Had his number in the back of my jumper. Just the way he went about it, and just
Simple.
one of the best midfielders I've seen.
100%. What about you, Will?
Probably Robert Harvey. Fun
Yeah.
fact, middle name's Harvey, off of Robert Harvey.
Off of Robert Harvey.
Off of Robert Harvey, so...
Wow, fun facts
Have
with
to
Will.
go with him. But yeah, what a great episode to start with. Obviously, last week's game against the Cats. All were there. All was a great game to watch. What did we think, guys?
Oh, it's genuinely awesome. Couldn't be happier, to be honest. I think for a first episode, to start it off with a Cats win,
Yeah.
there's no better start. There's absolutely no better start. Everyone knows we hate Geelong.
Yep.
For multiple reasons as well. But I just think first home game of the year, after getting absolutely battered by Adelaide,
Yeah.
it's awesome. And for us to be up 40 points as well on them at one stage, even better.
Amazing.
So
yeah.
I couldn't be happier with the boys' performance, to be honest.
As Bem said, after getting battered by Adelaide last week, it was a real shock to me. I thought it was going to be about the same, and I was looking ready to trains home when I already got there. But I was shocked. I was so happy. Like, you know, Geelong, everybody wants to beat Geelong, so glad we can do it 4 times in a row under the dome.
Yeah, 4 times is massive. But yeah, we all went. It was all great game to see. Jack Higgins kicked his 4 goals. McCrae had 34 touches.
Yeah.
McCrae, yeah, great game. Sinclair 2 goals. Mason Wood 2 goals as well. Yeah, just a lot of great players, a lot of performances that we could look at. Ryan Burns is someone who will go unmentioned a lot, but his running with Ollie Dempsey, especially in the first 3 quarters, was amazing.
Yeah, I think talking about running, can't go past Marcus Wintaker running with Max Holmes because it wasn't a tag, given he got his own ball, and it was more than just that. He got on the scoreboard, which is something he doesn't really do.
Yeah,
And kicking 2 goals, the first of the night as well, I think that was really important for him and his confidence because he wasn't great last year. He struggled in preseason as well for the last couple of years, not being able to get fully fit before heading into the season. And so now that he's got that confidence, he's got a really good game in front of him now as well. I think it'll only be the best for his career.
yeah.
As Bam said, we've just Windy's ability to actually get his own ball for once. Obviously, with the tag, he's always just been around, getting some touches, but not having an impact of the game as he just did on Saturday night with the 2 goals. Which the second was one of the best goals of the game too.
Fantastic.
It was great. I thought it was Higgins at first, but yeah, it was great. And I think easily his best game of his career. Spud's game last year was really good.
Against Stacos, where he torched him.
Mate.
He turns it on against teams we don't like. He knows on it.
Turns it on against the old grand final opponents. But I think talking about some really good moments, time to talk about the key moments because there were some really important late moments from some really inexperienced players as well. And I think the perfect place to start with that is Liam O'Connell's mark from a Tyson Stengel kick snap around the corner. Going back with 2 players coming at him, got whacked by both of them. I think that's a huge moment for him.
Oh,
fantastic mark.
Bit of Leo Barry about that mark. I saw it. Also the same spot as Michael Gardner in 09.
Yeah.
Man.
It was a great mark. It reminded me a bit of Josh Battle's mark in 2019. Not
Who?
Yeah,
We don't talk about him.
Yeah, it was one of the best marks of the day. And even though he had 4 touches, his impact offensively was just so good for a second gamer.
Yeah. He last week he was promising to start the game, but I thought trying to play him on basically a third tall in either Fogarty or Walker, whoever was left over, was just not suited to his game. But like he started on Patrick Dangerfield in the first half, and whenever Dangerfield was in the forward line, you barely noticed him.
Don't think Dangerfield had a touch in the first quarter.
He did right at the end because he got moved into the centre stoppage.
Yeah, true, yeah.
So like to hold one of the game's greats to literally not a single touch, I think is a great performance. And then we also have a couple of other key moments. You had Keeler's mark right at the end, which was just fantastic. After getting cramps for like 2 hours straight, fantastic effort from him to be able to get around the ground. Where he first initially did it was right in front of where we were sitting. I was on the members' wing, and I thought he pulled his hammy because it was feeling right up high, right underneath the glutes, and it looked like he did it. And like him walking where he couldn't put pressure on his left foot, it looked horrible. And I'm like, oh, please don't tell me you've done this. We've just subbed out Liam Stocker as well. This is going to be horrible. But he finally was able to get it out. Had some heap of pickle juice, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
Heap of pickle juice. But it was really good for his career as well, because I think he probably stays in the team for now. I don't think there's any reason to not keep him there. Kicked his
100%.
first goal as well. Fantastic set shot. I don't think I've seen anyone hit a ball that smoothly for their first goal.
And he's also like that perfect backup ruck for Marshall as well. Like, sure, he's not going to win every hit out he goes up against, especially against the inexperienced ruckman Geelong had today, on Saturday. But I still think he's the perfect. It's just a matter of if he's fit enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we have any injury reports just yet, but I think it should be good.
Yeah, that'll be, I'm pretty sure tomorrow is normally when we do them. But I think there's also one man in particular who...
Prime Chris Judd.
The bald man from 2015. Come back to the Saints and absolutely torch Geelong.
Zach
Jones. He was absolutely horrible last year against Adelaide in that one game. Got sent death threats.
Yeah.
And then he's turned it on ever since, except for last week, once again against Adelaide. So clearly he just hates Adelaide. But he was fantastic in that first half, I must say.
Yeah, sort of playing on like that wing half-back sort of role. And I think that really suits his game, as that sort of speedy. He's not always the greatest ball user, Jones, but... what he did against Geelong was just amazing.
Yeah,
hope he can back it up.
Sometimes you just need those type of veteran players just to stand up in some of these games and just put on his mark on the game and just played really well.
Yeah, for sure. But I think moving on from the game, there were a couple injury concerns that we did have. Liam Stocker got concussed after a tackle, and I think it was Dangerfield.
I believe so.
I think simply from the momentum of the tackle, his head hit the ground pretty hard, and it's quite unfortunate. But I think... also, that's some goal kickers, but he looked really important in the first half, given the physicality he brought to the game. I don't think we had that from anyone else against Adelaide.
Yeah.
And I think potentially we could miss it again this week, although it is against Richmond.
Such a heart and soul player he is.
Yeah.
You look at what he did. He's played such a selfless role as well, especially at the end of last year, tagging players like Trips at the end of the year. He was so big for us down the stretch when we're getting those wins, and to see him out with concussion... Again, it's only Richmond. Like, not many people expect them to do much, but that's a massive out.
It is.
Yeah. And then also Hunter Clark had a couple issues during the game. It looks to be potentially a groin or a calf issue from what Will's seen. But I think for him it's really, really annoying because he needs that continuity for his performances. And he was pretty good in the first half. I didn't have any problems with his game. And he's just able to find space in the stoppages, which is something we kind of lack. So I think he's going to be quite important if we want to really push for some success this year, as I get completely tongue-tied. But I think that potentially opens the door for some ins this week.
Yeah.
Because some players could be returning. And I think that'll be very interesting. But moving on, we now have the Sandy game.
Yep. So Sandy lost by 31 points to Geelong at VFL. And do you want to start?
I didn't actually watch the game. I was busy at work. But unfortunately, we did go down. From what I saw, there were a couple of good performances. Ari got a heap of the ball.
Yep.
Over 30 touches. Toby looked pretty decent. Had, I think, 23 or 24 touches and a goal, which is promising for him. And also Hugh Boxall. I'm a huge fan of him. He looked pretty good as well in the midfield.
Boxall was great. So starting centre bounce for the game was Harry Boyd in the ruck, Travalia, Carroll and Boxall. So gives you a bit of insight into where Travali is playing. And I think the Hunter Clark injury opens up the perfect door for Travali to come into this team.
Yep.
Either in the sub role or as a midfielder. I don't think we'll play him as much of a halfback at AFL level just yet.
Yeah.
With Naz and Sinclair, obviously. And Sean Maker will touch on a bit more later with one of the questions, but gets a lot of the ball, but the defence just isn't there just yet. And we saw that a bit in round one with Adelaide.
Yeah, it was caught out a bit, I think, during that.
Yeah, it was a little bit. But yeah, I think potentially some of the ins we could see is obviously, as you mentioned, Travalia for Clark, both sort of midfielders who can play around the ground a little bit.
Yep.
And then also it looks to be potentially Liam Henry or Dan Butler potentially returning.
Yeah. So what do you guys think? Who will come in for this team?
I think keeping the forward line as it was is okay. I don't think Richmond have enough tall defenders to be able to where we need to bring in someone like a Boyd or a Heath to be able to go with them in the air. But they've got the mediums, which I think is where Mitch Owens sort of thrives, and also allows Keeler to still be able to have his game. So I think bringing in potentially another small like Liam Henry, he doesn't need to perform great in the VFL. He just needs to get through it. And I think he could provide some really good value because he is that class, and we still sort of missed that towards the end of the game where we just couldn't find that connectivity. And I think he's a really good player for that.
Yeah, Henry was huge last year. Remember his debut down at GMHBA?
Yep.
Huge that game, and then round 2 against Collingwood as well.
Just as good. Unfortunately, they got injured. But then I remember that Brisbane game as well where we almost came back and won it.
No,
he was literally everywhere.
Massive.
He was so good in that game.
Would you, if Dan Butler's healthy, would you put him straight in, or do you put him into twos first?
It's a really good question. I think at the moment you can't really fault any of our small forwards. That's the problem. Yeah. Like if this was a game last week, he probably does come in. Yeah. And it's probably a bit easier of a selection. But Collard kicked his 2 goals. I thought he was pretty good. He knew where to be in the first half, probably quieter in the second half. But again, he wasn't playing in a role where it was on Tom McDonald and the ball was kicked on his head. Yeah. Like he's in a role where he could thrive.
It's an improvement from last year.
Yeah, you also had Max Hall, who's also been really good, I thought, to start the year as someone who probably wouldn't have had a game most people would have tipped.
Yep. I wasn't expecting that at all. Out of nowhere, round 1.
Yeah.
Bit of preseason. He played well in the preseason, but even his round 1 performance was really good. He was basically a shining light on a very dormant offense.
Yeah, literally. He was. I think he kicked 2 out of the first 3 goals or whatever it was.
Something like that.
And he just looked like the only one who wanted to be there and actually try kick a goal. So I think he probably stays in. Yeah. I don't think you can fault Higgins at all as a small forward. He probably stays in the team.
He would never play twos.
Bradley Hill is potentially one. He's had a very quiet start to the year.
Yeah, a lot of flack he's catching. But for me, Butler is such like a hard player to put in the team. Again, like Stocker, plays a really selfless role in that defensive pressure small forward. He does it so well. And it's really hard. Bringing Butler into this team could allow like a Max Hall type, who's a bit more of a midfielder already than a small forward, to push further up the ground. Could open up that door. So it wouldn't surprise me if we played him if he was fit. Yeah. Sharman's the one I think misses out. Sharman should be fit. He should be a test for this game with his thumb injury.
Okay.
But I think Sharman plays VFL this week. I don't think we need another key tool in there with Keeler, Owens, Wood.
I think the only reason we would potentially bring in Sharman is if we move Wood back to a wing.
Yeah.
And that probably causes maybe like a Max Hall to be potentially dropped. But our only thinking is, do we need enough tools against Richmond? Do we like the Mason Wood experiment off forward as a sort of factor in the meantime to get them fully healthy before we need to rush them back? Because it's not a game that we need to rush them back. It's Richmond.
I personally think the Mason Wood in the forward line always works for some reason.
It does.
Something pops up, he just kicks a couple.
He kicked 2 against Adelaide as well.
Yeah, he did.
I know this is a couple of years back, that Brisbane game when King couldn't kick straight.
Mahogany Wood.
And he just, what did he kick 4? One from the boundary.
Like
Kept us in the game.
Yeah, that was the game he really made me a fan of him because I always liked him when he, like in the first year he came, he always played a role, but he wasn't like a fantastic winger or anything. He almost felt like a player that could be dropped every second week.
Yeah.
But he just shined after that game. Like ever since then, he became a goal-kicking winger, but he was also able to go back and help in the back line and because he's a good aerial threat. He's got the size for it. He's always helping support for the Wilkies and the battles at that stages. So I think from that game, basically, it was a huge confidence booster for him because that was the game he showed that he belongs in the team. But I think we saw how good Wood was on the weekend in that forward role. Who do we think was the best player for the game on the weekend?
Probably Zach Jones. I'd have to go Zach Jones. I know McCrae's up there. McCrae got voted Saner of the Week.
Yeah.
So, I think differently, but Zach Jones for me, bold eagle. What about you?
Yeah, had no problems with Zach's game. I think I've got to give a shout out to Owens. I think the way he competed for the ball, like always, every week.
Deserved more than 2 goals.
Yeah, 100%. Had he kicked straight, he could have had almost 4.
He gets held every time.
Yeah.
Even on the wing, like he'll just get held and it doesn't get called.
Yeah, Geelong just get away with it all the time. But he just competes, and we absolutely love that. I don't think there were many contests that he actually lost in the air. And for him to bring it to ground, it allowed Higgins and Higgins and Collard to be able to get in and under. And that's what probably allowed them to get in. But I think my best on was probably Marshall. I think
that's fair.
We saw last week he barely moved. Like he genuinely couldn't walk after kicking a ball. And I think that him being the number 1 ruckman is what we need. And he absolutely showed that he wasn't healthy last week, but he was this week.
Yeah, especially with Boyd out. It was massive that he did that. Makes me wonder, obviously, like, how do we feel about TDK? Like, I think it's 95% chance we get him.
I hope he was watching that game and going, how good would this be? Because Carlton aren't doing much at the moment.
No.
And you go, this team right now doesn't look good on paper. They can upset Geelong.
No.
Imagine how good they would be healthy.
Yeah, imagine having a coach that can utilise you to your best.
Yeah.
Like, no offence to you, Michael Voss, but I think Ross Lane is one of the greatest tacticians we've ever seen as a coach.
Yeah.
And him being able to shine alongside Marshall would probably be the best thing for his career, because we saw how it worked with Marshall and Ryder, because one of them can play forward. Both of them can play forward. We saw Paddy Ryder when he was played forward. He was able to kick a couple goals.
Yeah. Won a final with that.
Yeah, literally. So
him and King.
Yeah. We can see how that works. And Marshall, we obviously know how good of a forward he is. But I just think with Marshall around the ground, it allows for him to just play as almost a midfielder, because he is so solid. He's probably the top 3 around the ground ruckman, because he got 29 touches.
Yeah.
How many ruckmen do you know that almost get 30 touches in a game?
It's almost
very
never.
few.
There's barely. TDK is the only one that comes to my mind right now, and we could have both of them next year.
Oh, that's easily the best ruck duo.
That would be awesome.
A margin too.
But who are your thoughts, Cooper, on the best performance?
Best performance, I have to go to Ball Magnet, the new A-grader mid in the comp.
Jackie McCrae.
New and improved. He's better than he was at the Dogs, so I don't want to say it already, but he's a gun. Jack McCrae.
How many points does he average in fantasy?
I don't want to bring that up. Corns will get mad.
Hey, listen, Kane Corns gets mad at us anyway, so it doesn't matter.
He doesn't like us, does he?
Nah.
He had 35, 10 tackles, 9 clearances.
Yeah.
11 score involvements. He was all-around gun. And it's the player we've been needed to the last couple of years. We haven't really had a
ball magnet like that.
Yeah, Crouch was there, but he was always injured, and he just wasn't up to what he was at Adelaide.
That's the problem. Like, the last couple of years, Crouch was injured so much that he couldn't get on the park.
Yeah.
And people forgot that we even had him on our list.
Oh, yeah, just the one game last year.
Yeah. So it was
1 half, basically. He didn't do much in the second half of that Geelong game.
So I think him now being there is really important for our midfield, because it allows someone like Steele to be able to play off him. It allows like Philippou when he gets there, and Clark. They don't need to be that in and under midfielder. Yeah. It's like the entire story with Nick Dacos. He doesn't want to be that in and under midfielder. He wants to be on the outside. We've got midfielders for the outside. Now he can be that in and under. But Kane Corns had a thing on SEN where he was talking about it last week after the Adelaide game, how poor of a kick Jack McCrae was, and that he wouldn't be effective
on the weekend.
He had some absolute pinpoint bullets on the weekend.
A lot of great kicks inside 50.
Yeah, the one that I remember specifically was when he had it coming out of a stoppage, kicked it on his right foot to Higgins over the top. Unfortunately, Higgins missed the set shot.
Happens.
But Higgins is a dog shit set shot. But
4 goals.
All snaps. That's the thing. There wasn't a single drop punt. But like I think that's so important for someone like him, because he showed that he's a good kick. Yeah. And he just can't keep doing it, mate. That's all we asked for.
That's the criticism he had at the Dogs for a little while.
Yeah.
That he was a bit of a handball merchant.
Yeah.
And he's very similar play to Crouch. And you look at Crouch, like Crouch obviously isn't as good as McCrae. Never was when he was at like the Dogs. But you look at 2023, the year we made final. I hate bringing it up because it's 2 years ago now, but Crouch was so important to our midfield in 2023.
Yeah.
Arguably our best in 2023.
I think 100%
and his loss was affected the team so much last year, and bring in the McCrae type for 55 in the end.
Yeah, something like that.
I think it was massive.
The original pick was 45,
but then
after like all the
and
stuff
then all
happened,
the NGA, so we basically got 45 again.
Yeah, it's I don't know why the Bulldogs did that, because guess what? They just lost Trelaw again for another month.
Yeah, they did, yeah.
Guess who they need? They need Jack McCrae.
They say Bont will be back soon, but I don't think. I think that's a bit of a lie what they're saying.
He'll probably be back round 6 against us for what we know.
What do we think of Bevo? Do we like him as a coach?
God, no.
No, I hate him.
Him and Simon Goodman are the two coaches that I probably hate the most.
They'll both get sacked. Maybe Longmuir at Fremantle.
Well,
potentially him too.
If Carlton can't do anything, I think Voss is going to.
It's another one. That's 4 coaches who are unable to make decisions in game. They can set up a game kind of well, but in game they can't do anything.
Yeah.
The tweets about Vossi on obviously Twitter, but they're horrible. Like, I think most Carlton fans just are done with him. They need something else, and it just
Yeah.
And you can't blame them. The players they have on that list.
No. Yeah, 10 score involvements just shows how good Jack McCrae was.
Easy game.
Like,
Looks
those
good.
in and under midfielders struggled to get more than 5 score involvements. He got 10.
Yeah.
So fantastic performance from him. But let's go to some questions now from the fans. Toby Travalia or Hugh Box will get a debut, or is it unlikely considering the games of Hunter Clark and Zach Jones? Well, we sort of talked about Hunter Clark.
Yeah.
What about Zach Jones? There's no chance he gets shot.
Zach Jones will not be getting
You got to reward effort.
Yeah.
He's playing well.
So if you were to pick one, who would you go out of Travalia or Boxall to get a debut?
Easily Travalia. I think it just makes the most sense. A lot of people watching the VFL game live tweeting on Sunday were like, Travalia is just going to make his debut against Richmond. I think it's a good game for him to debut in as well.
Yeah.
And I'd really want to see him as that midfielder instead of that halfback flanker.
Yeah, I see that.
It's another young player against obviously a young side in Richmond, so I think you debut him, and I wouldn't put him sub either. I think he might be sub if he gets his debut, but I think you should try him out in midfield. We got nothing to lose.
Yeah, exactly right.
You might as well try him and then see what happens from there.
I think he's also got a bit of protection in the midfield. Now that you've got McCrae, you've got Steele, you've got Windhager who can do the dirty jobs. He doesn't need to do that. He can play on the outside.
Yeah, just needs to use his running.
Yeah, exactly right. He can use his running to get around the ground. And I think he complements that midfield as well if he were to go in there. Like Hunter Clark, he's very skillful, but he's not quick.
Not speedy at all, no.
Yeah, whereas Toby is. Yeah. And sort of you get another dynamic that you can potentially try out if Hunter Clark's to miss the game, obviously.
Yeah, a bit like Wilson as well. I want to see Wilson get a bit more CBAs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that'd be fun.
I think he's got the body to do it. It's just whether he's got the ability to do it.
Yeah, 100%.
And you can only know that if you experiment with it. Another question. The dual ruck, I think it was pretty clear on the weekend, sort of answered it a little bit earlier. But again, when Marshall was out of the centre bounce, we saw how crucial he was to it.
Yeah.
Because they sort of got a bit of that centre dominance. There was a period where he couldn't get onto the field and Keeler couldn't get off because the ball was just on the other side of the ground. And part of it was because Keeler just couldn't jump, but also Marshall is that good.
Yeah.
So do we think that there's a chance we potentially blood another one, someone like Max Heath against Richmond?
I heavily doubt it. I think the big reason we looked so terrible when Rowan was off the ground is, again, because Keeler was playing his first game.
Yeah.
And you have to go up against a big body ruckman like a Blitzarves, who isn't like a stereotypical ruckman, but still very experienced against Keeler. So I can see why Keeler was getting smashed, and I think that's something he would have been working on this week.
Yep. I also think that it probably showed against more athletic ruckmen as well. Like Koning and Blitzarves can get around the ground really, really well. And for Keeler in his first game, he was tanked. Like, he really struggled to get 100%. Around the ground.
The last
even
15
that as well.
minutes, every young player was tanked. That's why Geelong came back.
Yeah. Next question. Did we like Hugo as sub? I'm not a fan, is what Zach Horn says. What are our thoughts?
I like Hugo as the sub as long as when we bring him on, he plays full-time midfield. I hate Hugo Garcia as a half-forward. I don't think it works. He doesn't hit the scoreboard. And I think it's just a bit terrible for his development as well. I'd rather see him play a full game as an inside mid at VFL level than playing half-forward at AFL level.
Yeah, the only reason he probably didn't against Geelong was because it was Liam Stocker that got concussed. Yeah. So you sort of needed a half-back flanker to come, so I can't remember who it was. But probably Sinclair playing more half-back flanker. And even Ryan Burns played a little bit behind the ball as well.
Yeah.
So you had that wing spot open up a little bit. That's probably the only reason. Listen, I don't mind it. We saw against Geelong last year that he can do it.
Oh, that tackle at the end of the game on
Against Max,
Holmes. Yeah, great.
Yeah, we saw how good he can be as a sub because he has energy, and you sort of want that energy player as a sub. But again, if you can play him on the ground, I'd much rather that. Like, even if he comes into the
100%.
team this week instead of Hunter Clark, then you can bring in someone like Toby onto the bench, and I wouldn't want to play him as sub, but sort of get a bit of an option there.
I almost wonder if we could do like a Dan Butler as the sub. Do like
Yeah.
the Hawthorn Collingwood way, having that experienced leadership player as your sub who can sort of be coaching on the field a little bit.
I feel like that would work really well, actually. Putting
that's
Butler as a sub if
very
he
good
comes in.
idea.
I feel like that'd almost be perfect. And then when he gets
Yeah.
on, he's got speed. I think, he's only like 28, 29, so
Yeah. So
still
what?
very fit.
So Garcia comes on for Clark. Butler comes into the sub role for...
Yeah, and then Travalia plays the stocker role.
Yeah, that's good changes. And then final question. I will be surprised if Webster keeps his spot. Ari and the two top tens are squeezing him out. We both discussed, all discussed Toby playing midfield, not fullback pocket. So I think that's pretty clear. But I'm a big fan of Jimmy.
I think we all are.
I think he was
very
so underrated on the game on Saturday night.
Yeah, he played a bit of mix. He played on Stengel at times. He played on Henry. He played on Close. I also think that at the start of last year, we missed him heavily.
Yep. I think,
There's
2 wins, 8 losses without him. Something like that.
There was a reason that we struggled to defend last year because he can play on the smalls, but he's also very well versed aerially.
Yeah.
And he knows when to come off his man to be able to help. Sometimes he can do it a bit too often, and then some more forwards are able to kick a goal, like I think Close did it once. But again, he's very, very assured on the best small forwards in the competition. Like when you're facing Charlie Cameron, you want him on Charlie Cameron.
Exactly.
When you're facing Toby Green, you want him on Toby Green. So I think that's really, really important for him. I also don't think Ari is that type of player.
No.
He's very, very different. He'd probably come in for Liam O'Connell when we have 3 tools because he's probably more similar.
I'd love to see Ari on a wing or a half forward where you can
Even
just
that too.
bang him in from 50.
Like theoretically, if someone like Mason Wood were to get injured, God forsake.
Yeah.
Oh.
God forsake.
Don't say that. Touch wood.
He'd be a perfect replacement.
He'd be a perfect replacement because he is a fantastic kicker of the footy and he'd just complement Naz, Sinks, Hill, Burns, all those really well.
Yeah. And I think
the defensive side of him wouldn't be taken out of it either.
Yeah, and I think the reason we play him down back is because of his height at 195. Yeah. So I think a lot of us view him as that key defender when he really isn't. He's like a Nick Cox type as much as I'm not a fan of Nick Cox, like that tall wingman sort of. And then for the other two, the 2 top 10 picks, like Travalia, we've seen one game at VFL level, isn't a back pocket. He's a half back mid. And Taru's still 2-3 weeks away. Haven't seen him once, so
he's going to be good.
Webster's not getting squeezed out at all of this team.
I think even if they came in, he would still have his spot just because how
100%.
well he locks down the smalls.
Yeah. The only person theoretically that could come in and replace him is probably Angus McLennan. We saw him last year come in, and he's probably bigger than Jimmy as well. He just probably doesn't have the speed to go with some of the smalls.
Yeah.
But in terms of positional, that's probably the best option we'd have, aside from maybe Stocker. But that's sort of different. He likes to take the midfielders as well.
I think long-term O'Connell we see as a bit of a Webster replacement, especially with the courage he showed last week.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I feel like Ross really likes O'Connell too.
Yeah.
So I think we'll keep seeing games out of him.
Yeah, definitely.
And we've got that, what's his name, Eamon Armstrong.
Oh, the other
He's still not over here. Yeah, I'd love to see him get some games.
I haven't heard of him at all. Really? So that's a new name for me.
Have a look at the list. He's on there.
And you're on the Saints Nation podcast and you're on Eamon Armstrong.
Hey, I reckon
he is a
name more
Saints Nation follower.
Is he?
Him, Patrick, Saeed, or said, whichever way you say it. I'm trying to remember who else. There's a few.
It's disrespect.
There we are. Hey, I'm not disrespecting. I wouldn't be here if you didn't have the platform you did.
Sure.
I'm just surprised players would follow you.
Hey, I don't talk shit about him like some other Saints channels.
Ooh, okay.
Don't start.
But that's moving on from the questions. Quick repack of other games. Do you want to talk about any other games that you watched on the weekend that you liked?
Richmond, probably an important game to talk about. Didn't get to watch much. Because obviously on the way to the Saints game, but I think that is important. We should be aiming to beat Richmond by 90-odd points.
I wouldn't go that far.
Don't.
When was the last time we beat a team by 90 points?
West Coast or Essendon, around that, I think. But Wouldn't surprise me if it's like a 2-goal game at 3/4 time.
Is it their home game or ours?
I think it's our home game.
All right.
Obviously, the last
because we play them
match
play against them in the MCG later in the year.
Well,
somehow.
Yuck.
Yeah, really horrible.
There'll be like 20k there.
If that.
I hope everybody comes down on Saturday. Hopefully we can see a nice little win.
Yeah, I think given it's the last game of Maddie's match, 10 years now, I think hopefully 35k again.
Yep, no, it was a great crowd last
year.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
I think Saints fans are very up and about if you win, and we should get 35 there. If we lost that game to Geelong, we'd get 18.
I think a lot of supporters will come in thinking this should be a win and let's enjoy ourselves on a Saturday.
Yeah, definitely.
100%.
So what sort of something you want to see from this game? What's one thing you want to see from this game?
Caminiti continue his form down back. We didn't mention it much during the pod so far, but he was a real revolution down there, down back.
I think him training over the summer as a defender was really important.
Yeah.
And surprise, surprise, when you play a player in their position that they trained in, they're going to be better in it.
Who would have thought?
Who would have thought it?
He will, I reckon, be a very good backman for the future. So we'll be keen to see how he goes in this under strength Richmond forward. But
well, we won't be because
who do we think he'll match up?
Tom Lynch is coming back, so it's going to be Tom Lynch.
Oh yes.
You don't think Wilkie goes to Lynch?
No, I think Wilkie will play a bit of a roaming role.
Yep.
And probably maybe goes to Armstrong so he can play on that rookie. Maybe it's a switch around, but I just don't think Wilkie has that sort of height and reach to be able to go with Lynch in the air.
I think Lynch will be very stocky and just not move much. He'll get up to ground a bit, but obviously against the Carlton game he didn't really do much.
Yeah.
He got up to ground, but goal wise he kicked one from the goal square that was given to him. But I feel like Caminiti should hold him to around there again.
Yeah, I think the way he performed on Neil sort of shows that he can do it. There was one, I remember that, I think it was Mark O'Connor kicking the ball to him on the lead, and Caminiti was with him every single step.
Yeah.
And he's got that speed. I mean, he looks very weird when he's moving, but he's got the speed to be able to go with those sort of forwards. And I think body-wise as well, he probably compares more so to Lynch than Wilkie.
Shannon Neal, you forget, he kicked 2 goals, but one was from outside 50, and then the other one was a
cheapie free.
No, it was a mark that as they said it was a mark.
That wasn't a mark.
That wasn't a mark. It was a 3-on-1. That probably wasn't a mark. So.
It's just horrible umpiring, but we can move past that because that's always what happens with Geelong.
I just want to touch on, as we go on past the other games, I want to touch on the Adelaide game against Essendon.
Makes us look a lot.
Yeah, I agree.
Or does it just mean Essendon are just as shit as always?
Yeah, well, I was like, thank God someone else did it too. So if Essendon won, I'd be like,
Well, especially at the G. Adelaide never play well at the G.
Yeah.
Haven't won there in 8 years.
We never play well at Adelaide overall. No. We always get smashed. Yeah. So that's why I was a bit like, this result. I'd love to see a win. I wouldn't want to get smashed, but didn't surprise me.
I think we have a 3-16 record there, maybe a 2-16 record
at Adelaide Oval.
Yeah,
we've won 2 games, both in 2020. Back to back.
Oh yeah, that was a good couple of weeks.
It was a horrible game against Adelaide, who were dog shit that year.
Yeah,
and then a fantastic game against Port Adelaide, who were the best team that year.
Kicked straight, and we besides I think Butler
12
missed.
goals of 1 because Butler hit the post from a thing on the boundary.
Tim Membry got a flying kick goal.
I remember watching that game, and I said as soon as he did that, I'm like, that's a goal. It came off him last. They go to the review, came off him last. I was like, genius at that moment.
A bit of Jackie Chan, but damn orange about that.
Port didn't lose another game in Adelaide that whole year until the prelim, I think. So that was a really, really good win. It looked good until we didn't. But yeah.
Anything else about the game that you guys want to talk about? Because I think, it's Richmond, but they did also beat Carlton.
Yeah.
And whilst it is Carlton, it is also
Carlton's not good anymore.
We gotta act like obviously they're not as good as they used to be.
Yeah.
But we gotta act like they are. We can't go in thinking we're gonna win this.
No. I really want to see a strong start because we saw against Geelong what it does for us.
Exactly.
And we saw against Adelaide what it doesn't do for us.
And against Port Adelaide we started off terribly.
Yeah, that too.
If we get the crowd involved early under the roof, it's gonna be it's gonna be a good game.
Yeah, I want to see. Prediction now, I think that Isaac Keeler kicks the first goal of the game. Straight out of stoppage. Straight out there.
How about everybody getting around him after his first goal? Every single player.
Yeah.
They must love him down there.
I'm sure they do.
He's going to become a fan favourite very quickly.
Good for Naz. We've got a lot of good South Australians in this team. We've almost built South Australia for
Naz. Please stay.
Wilkie's South Australian. Keeler.
Philippo.
Sharman's South Australian as well. We've got a lot.
if he leaves, I don't know what I'd do with myself. I don't know.
Well, you got to think, because he's not a free agent.
No.
How does he move? Because if he walks to the draft, like Jack Martin did. Jack Martin went to the draft?
He went to unrestricted free agency.
Not to go to Geelong, to go to Carlton.
Yeah,
Carlton.
I think he was through the draft. Because Carlton pretty bad. That
Richmond
it was a huge contract that he got.
Richmond will have the first pick. They're not going to let Naz walk.
Oh, imagine that.
And I think Naz loves it here. So I think he signs till 29, gets to see 4 more years of form under Ross, gets to see who he bring in as well, and then he can move to South Australia if he wants to do for free.
Let's not. So he's going to stay here for the rest of his career, and he's going to.
I'd love it.
He's going to go straight into coaching after that. He'll be St Kilda for the rest of his life.
When Filippo wins the 2026 Brownlow medal and he thanks Naz in his speech, it'll be great.
It's going to be great.
I remember last year in the Geelong game, we sat behind the sponsors for Naz.
Oh, yeah.
And they were really confident that he loves it here and that they think he's going to stay.
Yeah,
so
everything
I've got confidence.
Cal Toomey says. I take his word as gospel. He's like, Naz loves it here. The only reason he'd leave is just to go home.
Yeah, but again, I think we've created a pretty good environment. Like
100%.
What we do in terms of the players staying at older players. Like I'm sure he loves Mason Wood, like we all do.
Every player loves Mason Wood. What is the father figure at the club at the moment?
He's senior unk.
He lived with him in his early years too, I think.
Yeah. I think Filippo did as well.
I don't know if Filippo did, but I know O'Connell is now.
There you go.
So Naz has lived with him since he moved across, actually. I think even... Is Ari doing it? Because I remember Ari left Steelers.
Ari's Tassie, isn't he?
Yeah. So I think that'll be very interesting because let's hope he doesn't leave when
lock
Tassie
him up
come in.
before 2028.
Yeah. But again, I think Richmond this week, don't start slow. Start strong, please.
Yeah.
Please.
Do we want to do best on field, leading goal kicker?
Let's do some predictions.
Let's do it.
100% happy to do that.
Go on, Ben.
Okay, I'm starting.
Yeah.
Yep.
Best on, I think we saw Sinclair kick a couple goals this weekend.
Yep.
I think potentially on a couple small forwards that he doesn't need to be so concerned about. He probably is able to get unleashed and have over 30 touches and potentially kick a goal as well. So I think Sinclair is probably going to be the man of the field, the best on ground.
Man of the field?
Oh,
no.
Shut up. Let me be. In terms of most goals, it's hard to go past Snags. It really is.
Yeah.
But...
Especially against his all side.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah,
he probably kicks another 4, to be honest.
Oh, I love that.
But
go heavier.
How many did
Give him
Rioli
6.
have on the weekend against him? 4, 3?
I think 3 or 4.
Pal Pepper had a few. The smalls kill him.
Yeah,
they don't have a small defender.
Yeah, I also think
That's why we should probably bring Butler in.
Lancey Collard kicks 10.
Lance, he's going to pop up and
Lance
you'll
does
kick
a
4.
Stevie
Watch this.
Milne.
Oh,
Kicks it.
Stevie Milne, your favourite player.
Yeah,
Oh, bring back Milne.
yeah. In terms of, I think someone
prediction.
to watch even. Someone to watch.
Someone to watch.
Watch Collard. Yeah, watch Collard.
Yeah,
Talking about
pops
the
up.
smalls, I think he could be really exciting.
Yep.
Maybe not kick 3 or 4, but definitely get involved in 4 or 5
Yep.
goals.
I mean, I think Collard is a player who, when he plays good, he plays really good.
Yeah.
And he'll love to play, take on that momentum into Richmond.
And I'm sure he loves playing under the dome as well. Being able to
100%.
have a clean ground, no rain, no potential wind as well.
Every player does.
help him.
Why play at the G
Yeah.
when you can play at Marvel Stadium under a roof?
And I think we want to play at the G. We want to play at the G.
That's where finals are played.
Yeah, I think we win pretty comfortably. Not going to say 80 points like I
Jeez.
do in my other podcast, but I think pretty comfortably 8 to 9 goals.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'll go. The best on ground will be the 2025 Brownlow medalist in Jack McCrae. He'll rack up as much touches as he wants again.
So you'll think he'll have 9 votes after 3 rounds?
Yeah, he's on.
He's not having 3 votes against Adelaide, I can tell you that much.
But
I
I
never
think
know. The umpires are a bit
think-
shocking with this.
Hey, if Jason Horne-Francis gets 3 votes to 14 touches, 7 turnovers, and a goal, then God knows who can get 3 votes.
I think as Bam said before this podcast started, I think Steele or Windy, a run-through role with Torano would work well too, just with it, just in case. Because I remember a couple of years ago he killed us. And I think...
In that wet game.
Yep.
Yeah.
Killed us. And he was
Kicked the sealer, didn't
on
he?
track for a Brown. Yep.
He did. That Chanana, holy God.
Yep. So I think you run with him. He's the only midfield... Oh, but then We'll see. But they've got a lot of mids that you never know will pop up. But
Yeah, Jacob Hopper will probably have a career game against us for all we know.
Let's just go midfield to midfield. Let's just beat them where it matters.
Yeah.
I think Keeler will play a really good game, I think, because he'll come up in the ruck a bit more. I hope he comes up to ground a bit more, takes some more marks. Hope he's not cramping. But I think he'll do well there. I think my leading goal kicker, I'll tell you now, everybody will get around 2-3 goals, but I think Lancey Boy Collard will pop up and kick 4 in the second half. Won't kick one in the first half, kicking all 4 in the second half and sealing the game, and we'll win by around 28-30.
Yeah. Okay. Well, if you see him kicking 4 in the second half, I'd assume we're pretty dominant in the second half then.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hope so. All right. My best on, got to go McCrae. Again, just going to kill it. Get his, what is it now? His 6th Brownlow vote it will be.
Yeah.
Definitely gets the 3 last week.
He could push for 1, to be honest, in that Adelaide game.
He was really good. He shouldn't
got it.
He shouldn't have been playing in the midfield. Da.
Fuck you, Kane Corns. That's all I'll
That's
say.
the one F-bomb we're allowed to drop.
Hey, it's past 30 seconds. We're good.
Jack McCrae, definitely I'll go with him as my best on. Leading goal kicker, I like the Collard call, but I'll go with Higgins. I think we'll just feast against his old side. I couldn't even tell you who their small defender is.
It's true.
It's
Jaden
Short, who's more of a halfback flanker.
He doesn't.
He doesn't defend.
Lockdown players.
Seth Campbell's a
forward.
Mr. Brown, Tom Brown, I think his name is.
Is he playing?
Brown type.
I don't know. I couldn't tell you.
Exactly. Like,
I feel like he didn't. I only watched the car. I didn't watch the
Oh,
game.
Luke Traynor will probably go to him. Traynor.
Did he can it? I don't
taller
know.
again.
He
Like,
couldn't
he's
do anything, but
tall.
he'll
Can they
probably give it
defend?
to him.
He's a taller
Who knows?
type.
To be fair, they shut down Carlton's small, so we'll see. But they didn't shut down.
Yeah, who? And there's no longer Matt Owies there.
Mob, he didn't do much.
Yeah, Frankie Evans.
Oh,
Pick up of this season.
That's something else. I don't know why you get rid of Owies.
Yeah. That was a proper stinker, Jesus.
Yeah, and for the score, I'll go at half time. It'll be like a 1-2 goal game, and then we'll just kill him at the end, like 40 points.
Yeah, fair.
I hope it's not close. It better
If it's close like it was last year when he played them in Gather Round.
Oh,
That was did we
God
score?
knows what's happening
We scored
next
a
week
goal
on
at
this.
the very end of the half.
Yeah.
That was our only goal.
I went on a
Higgins.
I went on a flight. I was flying back from the Gold Coast, and I think Maurice Rioli kicked a goal for them with
I
about
think I remember that one, yeah.
maybe 6 minutes to go, and I lost service. And I had no idea because they kicked one. I think I got down to 8 points. I had no idea what happened until the end of my flight. I was stressing the whole flight. What happened?
That was a terrible game.
That was horrible to watch.
What do we think about our gather round kits this year?
I love
The
our kids.
heritage.
I love all our kids.
I'd say it looks way better than it did about 11 years ago, or even longer. But with the names on it, I think it looks a whole lot better with no names on it this time.
Yeah, 100%. I think we always do pretty good on kits.
Oh yeah,
One of the best
I think
merges in
we're
the league.
off field. We are like you'd think
Top
we were
three.
the best team. Like
Yeah.
GWS are up there.
Hawthorn.
We're up there in Hawthorn.
Yeah. I think, well, given what we do, okay, we're pretty good social media. We're probably not top, but our jerseys are top.
Oh yeah,
Top of the list.
The red, white,
Every
you can't get better
jersey.
than red, white, and black.
And then also our special games that we do. Like,
Yeah.
no one gets close to us in terms of our special games.
Yeah.
Like, we got Spud's game. We got the game
Oh.
against Hawthorn.
Collingwood do the firefighter game.
Yeah,
Special service
yeah,
game.
special service game. We've got the Pride game against Sydney. But, like, they've got Anzac Day,
Yeah.
sure.
What's
But,
that?
like,
What's that?
Essendon have Anzac and Indigenous round as
We
well.
had Anzac Day
Same time.
10 years ago.
Yeah.
We had it.
What is it? Joey
Yeah, but we
one?
also get Monday nights against Carlton in New Zealand, don't we?
0-3 New Zealand, 0-1 in China. Not a good overseas record.
Oh, jeez.
Don't bring up the China games. They'll send us to America when we want to do that.
Please don't.
We've already given up on going to fucking Cairns. Jesus Christ. That
we
was
don't speak of
horrible.
that. Yeah.
Sorry, not Cairns, Darwin or whatever it is.
Where are we at? We're against Melbourne this year.
Yeah, that's Cairns.
TIO Traeger Park.
That's
is it-
Cairns.
Is it?
No, that's not Cairns.
Or is it
It's Alice Springs.
Alice
Yeah.
Springs.
Yeah,
we're-
that's
Freo
Mark that
smashed
one.
them up there though. Last
Yeah,
year.
they did. Let's hope
Yeah,
we
well,
can do
to be
the same.
fair, Melbourne don't look good. So,
Nope.
but then again,
That's very true.
they have our number in the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, it's what happens when you tip North Melbourne. Melbourne lose.
You tip them.
I tip North.
Jeez, I did not. I was shocked. I was there.
I tip North and St Kilda.
It looked like prime Hawthorn,
Jeez.
apparently.
Charlie Comben looked like the god.
Actually, did we all tip St Kilda? Because I didn't.
I did.
Did you?
I don't want to talk about it because I'm biased.
I did not tip St Kilda.
I haven't tipped St Kilda yet this year, but I tipped them.
Neither did I.
I mean, it's
changed
2
it to
games.
St Kilda and changed it back.
22 out of 23 games I tipped them last year, and the one game I didn't tip them was when we bet Sydney. So I was feeling.
I
gonna be
usually
hard.
always tip them, but I
Yeah.
don't know. I just haven't this year.
No, I only tip us when I think we're going to whack a team. It's the only other reason. And I knew we were going to beat Geelong. I knew we were going to beat Geelong.
4 in a row.
Yep.
Make it 5 next year. Come, bring us back down. Hopefully we beat them in Geelong for once. I would love that.
Actually, I
I'd
hope
love
we
that.
never have to play them in GMHPA again.
Just become a Marvel. Just become an MCG team, then we don't have to play them.
Do we have them? We have them later this year at Geelong, I think.
Probably. It's probably
I
like
would
the
assume
last
so.
game of the year.
I think it's
Yeah.
around there. So
Yeah.
if we can all, let's hope we have a good year, get down to that.
Yeah.
But last time, our cheer squad looked really, really good last
It
time.
did. It did.
I think I might go
Yeah, it
down
was
this year. I've
actually
never
full.
been, so I'd love to
I've
see a
been-
win. When was the last time we won there? Was fact
Never.
check that for
We've never won at Cardinia Park.
really.
I'm pretty
we
sure.
have before.
Have
but-
to.
I don't think we've ever won.
Surely.
Ever.
Search is up.
I'm like,
You- you're gonna-
I know we've only ever won twice at Adelaide Oval, but I don't think we've ever won at GMHBA Stadium.
We have won.
Oh, yuck.
Oh, yeah, we've won 17 times in our last 130 matches at GMHB.
We haven't beaten them since June the 5th, 1999.
Okay, yeah, so 26 years. But was it even called that back then?
No,
No.
we've just been Cardinia.
yeah.
Yeah.
So GMHBA, we've never won.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wins
fair.
like that are important to prove that we're
we
a
nearly
better
had them
team.
about
Is it-
4 years ago,
And
2022.
the one game that I want to talk about that we need to win is Port Adelaide, but that's for next week.
Yeah.
Predictions.
Can we verse them at Marvel, please, AFL? Just have 1 year where we verse Adelaide and Port Adelaide at Marvel, please.
No,
In front
they
of
don't like
fans.
us.
In
Yeah,
front of fans.
Yeah.
I'm sick of
But-
it. Sick of going. I'm sick of watching us get pumped at Adelaide every year.
Yeah, it's horrible. But I think that brings us entire wrap.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
Episode 1 finished.
Very well done.
Yeah. Thank you guys for tuning in. It will probably be a much better product next week as well.
I'm sure.
All
I'm sure.
warming up to it in
Yeah.
the special rooms. Thanks to
Holmes Glen.
Holmes Glen, Davin.
Thanks, Dav.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Dav.
Dav.
Davin. That's so-
But yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. Hope you guys enjoyed. Like, comment, subscribe, all the usual stuff. Thank you to these two boys for
You
being
guys.
the co-hosts. And yeah, we'll catch you with episode 2, hopefully after a smashing against Richmond.
Please.
Thank you. Please.
Awesome.
Please.